So straight to the point, power steering pump, pulley, and high pressure line replacement. First, you're gonna get a 1/2 inch breaker bar, and you can see it's right here, or a ratchet, doesn't really matter. This is just easier because depending on what ratchet you have, might break it. But you put it right on the pulley. You can see the belt right here. Not pulley, I mean the tensioner. And all you do is you just crank it towards you like that, and you can see it moving. And all it does is releases the tension on the belt and allows you to take it off. And if you can see right in there, there's a slot. Come over here. Then you get the belt off. Move out of the way. Change the belts as well, which is probably what you should do anyways. Might as well, you're gonna be in here. And you got your pump. I kind of went ahead just so I can make it easier for everybody to see everything. So you got three. You got 1, 2, 3 15mm bolts. Bracket, as you can tell, goes on it just like that. And then on the back side, you're gonna have 2 15mm bolts. 1, 2. And it just sits like that. And then there you go. As you can see, then you're gonna have a 5/16 bolt right here. Holds this wire on. Just move the wire out of the way, bend it, whatever you want to do with it. And then you got your return line, goes up to the Hydro Boost, which is connected to that right there. And then you, after you've taken the 2 15mm bolts out of the bracket right there, and you've taken your 5/16 and you've taken the 15mm bolts out, your bracket or your whole entire pump's gonna be loose. Only thing that's gonna be on there is your return, which is just that piece of clamp. And then on the back side, you're gonna have your high pressure line, and all that is just that fitting right there. And we'll get that off, and I'll show you more in depth on the easiest way to get that. So there's 2 ways you can get these 2 15mm out. You can do it from the top if you've got a ratcheting wrench, like this. Makes that look a little bit easier. Or you can get it from the inside. Take your liner out, and all the liner is just these little pop outs. And all you do is just get a scraper. I have a gasket scraper I use because I don't have the body panel tools, which make it easier because it doesn't allow you to break the plastic ends. So I'll leave a link in the description for those tools just to make it easier for you. They're really, really cheap. I just don't have any. So you're gonna have your return line. You're gonna disconnect your other line, which is also a return. And the way you know it's returned, because it's not pressurized, is because there's not an actual fitting on it. It's just a clamp holding it on there. That's how you know there's no high pressure coming through this line. I say high pressure in general. And then you have your high pressure line, which is this line, which goes in the back of the pump, which we are about to remove, and that should be the only thing holding it on. Don't pay attention to this. You won't have this unless you have alarm system aftermarket. So that'll be out of the way. So you'll have your return, like I said, return, high pressure line right here, which is accessible having this battery cable right behind there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but when I take it out, you'll be able to see it better, and then I'll show you what's all on the back side of this pump. So after you get your liner out, you can come into the side. Either way, it doesn't matter. You can see what the wrench is on. There's gonna be 2 studs coming off the pump. You're gonna replace. Sorry.
Say it again. Say
Sorry.
again. I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
You're gonna place the wrench on the both of the studs. Either way will work. They're 15mm bolts as it is, which makes it even easier. This is a ratcheting end wrench, so it's a little bit easier just until it's all the way out. And you're gonna be able to pull the pump forward off the bracket right here. And then there's one back. It's kind of hard to see. The wrench is in the way, but the other stud is right behind it. It's in it's a 15 millimeter as well, so we'll get that off right now. Oh, nice. All right, so you got your bottom or your pressure hose line, and it's a 5/8. You got your top return to the gearbox, and that's just a clamp. Other side of that fitting right here, it's also a 15, 18, just like the top of this one is an 18. So your high pressure line is going to be a 5/8 on the bottom, going from the pump to the top of the booster, which is an 18. And then, so you have your actual pulley that goes on here. Here's the old one. This one's a they reuse this, whoever put a reman on it. This is why you don't want remans. And yes, there's people, even at the parts store, if you go to GMC or Chevy, they will tell you that there's a new reman, even though there's no such thing. So remanufactured right there. This is the one you get from AutoZone or Riley's for the cheapest amount. As you can tell, that's already gone out from whoever put that on there, which probably wasn't that long ago. But there's your old pulley. It was rusted on the actual shaft. So what you do is you go to Harbor Freight, get yourself a pulley or a puller kit. Here's your kit. It goes around, hooks onto the lip. Put the other side. Put that side on there. Put that one on that side. It goes like that. It grabs the pulley side. You got your sleeve. Goes over top, just like that. Keep it from falling out. Got your jack screw. Comes in the kit. 1/2 inch on top. Just use a crescent for that right there. Use your screws, different ones. You got your specific ones, 4.8s and stuff like that. And then you got your button right here. Whenever you're taking the pulley off, put that right there inside, like so. Take your jack screw, your nut. This is going to go in between this little lip inside of here. So obviously this would be, and it would sit on top with the 2 clamps over it. Like so. Like that. So the other one would be on the other side with your sleeve over it. And all you do is tighten the top piece while holding this piece of the crescent, and it pulls your actual pulley off. And then you put it on. It comes with a bearing and a washer, which the Harbor Freight one sucks. I'd advise getting a better one. It allows the pulley to spin on this, the inner part. So you would, as you're putting the pulley on, you get your length. Depends on what pulley you have. As it goes into there, like this one, it's a little bit different shape, as you can tell. So it's a little bit taller from the center out. So you would take your actual threaded screw. This goes into the jack screw top piece. Jack screw, just like that. You'd screw that in. This piece. Go into here, like that. So you screw that into the jack screw first, just like that. Throw your bearing, throw the bearing side down towards the pulley, like so, with your washer underneath it. So it would sit flat against the pulley like that. I mean, there's instructions on it, but all you do is you do the complete opposite. So you would just spin the crescent, the actual big nut right here, and then you would loosen this side, or hold this side with the 1/2 inch instead of tightening it like you did when you took it off. So you're just doing the opposite. You're tightening this, holding this, and it pulls it off. When you get your pulley off, there's gonna be a bracket on the back side that holds the actual pump onto the actual engine bracket. You got 4 of them, 15mm bolts. Here's the one side, and there's the other side. Just on the inside right there. You can't really see it because when you get the pump off or the pulley off, you can see the actual 4 15mm bolts. Just make sure to transfer it over to the so here you have your bottom line. Sorry, this line goes to the actual, Jesus, there we go, it's the gearbox, top of it, and that's just your return line, goes right there, the end of that piece, and that's the same size as the 5/8. So here's your other line. This goes up to the Hydro Boost to 18. And then this line on the bottom goes to the actual back of the pump. So if you want to make it easier, thread that line into the Hydro Boost, throw this through all the loops and the harnesses, coming back down to your pump, and then screw it into the back of the pump. And don't forget your O-rings that come with it. They go on all sides. Any fitting that has that is going to have a new O-ring. This is your return line. It goes from the Hydro Boost. It's pre-fitted or bent, whatever you want to call it. That's part number. And then I don't like the other clamps, so I put a worm gear on it. And then that will just go to the actual return line, which is, or the return fitting, and that goes to the Hydro Boost return fitting. Go to the top. It's really oily down here. You can see where it's at, top of the gearbox. You got one that's going into it, one of the pressure lines, which goes to the Hydro Boost, and then you can kind of see the hole right there. That's where this side of that clamp or fitting's gonna go, and that's a size 18 right there. And all I'm gonna do is just put it at the top of the gearbox and run that line up to the power steering box or pump. So sorry I had to cut you guys off short. It started pretty much a blizzard snowstorm, so I wasn't able to film because you couldn't see anything. So I just pretty much just finished up as fast as I could. So we have a new pulley, link in description. I'll throw the belt and link in description, depends on the alternator you have. Here's the pump, link in description. All you're gonna have is 3 15mm bolts right down the front. Then you're gonna have 2 right underneath this ground wire. You got 1, 2, and you can get it from the top side, or you can go from your wheel well, and the liner's off right now, so it makes it a lot easier to get the stuff. And one way to diagnose a power steering pump failure is to take off the return line on your Hydro Boost and run a 5/16 or 3/8 fuel line, kind of like this. Pretty much same thing. You can get it for cheap. Just cut a piece, I don't know, maybe 2 feet. Take this off, attach it to the actual nipple of the actual Hydro Boost, run it outside your truck onto, I don't know, a bucket or something like that. And the way you'll diagnose is you'll turn your truck over, it'll turn on, you leave it on. You'll turn your steering wheel lock to lock with your foot on the brake. Every time you turn it lock to lock, it should automatically pump whatever's coming from here, the actual power steering pump reservoir. It should automatically evacuate what's in here into the actual bucket. Now, if it does do that with ease, and when I say ease, I'm talking like a really high flow rate where it almost empties this entire thing. It's also the same way that you would flush this pretty easily without using a syringe or a turkey baster. You would just follow the line, return, take this line off, put on a 3/8 fuel line or whatever you want, run it to a bucket, turn the wheel lock to lock while you're still trying to refill this at the same time. So it's kind of like a 2-person job. That way you don't run this dry. I see some people run this dry and it absolutely destroys the whole entire system. So by system I mean this, and it sometimes affects the Hydro Boost where it locks it up. Now it depends. obviously. But one way to diagnose it pretty easily is to, like I said, take this off, 3/8 fuel line or 5/16 onto the nipple. If you turn it with your foot on the brake, left or right, all the way, lock to lock, it should evacuate this fluid pretty easily. If it doesn't, and it almost looks like it's just dripping out, then it's 100% your pump. Rare cases, both go out, your Hydro Boost and your power steering pump. But that's just like a tip that I have, I guess, that to kind of save you from just throwing parts at your truck. Other than that, it was pretty self-explanatory install. Sorry I couldn't film it all, but you pretty much just take the tensioner of the belt off, like I said before, and the rest is just 5 bolts. And that would be, my guess, my number one tip to test your actual pump if it is failing. Because if your brakes, obviously your brakes are not working when you come to a full stop, or on high idle or high revving, your power steering comes back and you actually have power steering inside your truck, and then when you come to a stop, you literally can't turn your steering wheel, then it's going to be your pump, based off doing that diagnosis, however much flow comes out of this line that you attach to that. So that's my tip. Hopefully it helps. If you have any questions, just ask. Alright, so washed it off. Everything's good. What I would suggest, if you order this actual pump, which is the actual ACDelco model, to spray paint it with like sandable primer, because aluminum does corrode, so just keep that in mind. But anyways, I'm going to put the link in for this hose, this line that goes into the gearbox, which is that line right there. And then it's just a hose clamp. Just to reiterate everything, you got your return line coming off of it, goes all the way up to the Hydro Boost. You can see it right there, is the part number for it. Goes all the way up to the Hydro Boost. And then you have your main pressure line on the back of the pump. There's only 2 hoses that come off of it that are return style fittings, and then you have 1 pressure line. And that is going to be the smaller nuts that are on the back of those for the hoses for the pressure lines are going to be 5/8, and then the bigger ones that go up to your hydro posts are going to be 18. So just keep that in mind. It's easier to have tools out ready to go. And other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Hardest part I had was putting the pulley on, because it was rusted on prior to this. But I'll put all the part numbers in the description. They're really cheap. I would suggest not to get a reman. I've gone through 3 of them already. So try to go with new, and don't buy from the dealer, because, well, it's 3 times the price than what you can get it offline. So hope this helps.